When we picture the Sahara, our minds often conjure an image of a vast and seemingly infinite ocean of sand. It is a place of extremes, where the sun reigns supreme, casting a brilliant, almost blinding light upon the world below. The heat is immense, a powerful force that shimmers above the dunes, making the air itself seem to dance. One can imagine standing there, surrounded by nothing but towering waves of golden sand, stretching out to a horizon that seems a world away. It's a landscape of profound silence, broken only by the whisper of the wind as it sculpts and reshapes the very ground beneath our feet, a constant, patient artist at work. This is a world that appears at first glance to be almost entirely empty of life. The challenges here are immense. Water is the most precious treasure, a rarity that dictates the rhythm of existence for any creature daring to call this place home. The temperatures can swing dramatically, from scorching hot days that can bake the earth to surprisingly cold nights under a clear, star-filled sky. It is a testament to the power of nature in its most raw and unforgiving form. This image of the Sahara, the great sandy desert, is so strong in our minds that it feels as if it has always been this way, an ancient and unchanging part of our planet's story. Yet, for all its starkness, life does find a way. A closer look reveals a world of remarkable adaptations. A fennec fox, with its enormous ears, listens for the faintest sound of prey moving beneath the sand, its ears also helping it to release body heat and stay cool. A sidewinder snake moves in a peculiar, looping motion, a clever dance that allows it to travel across the hot surface with minimal contact. These inhabitants are masters of survival, each one a living marvel, perfectly tuned to the demands of this harsh environment. They are the keepers of the desert's secrets. Their lives a quiet drama played out against a backdrop of breathtaking desolation and beauty. But what if I told you that this image, this powerful and enduring picture of an endless sand sea, is only one chapter in the Sahara's very long and surprising story? What if this great desert, the largest hot desert in the world, was not always a desert at all? The clues are there, hidden beneath the sand and etched into the rocks, waiting to be discovered. They tell a tale of a different time, a different world, one so startlingly different from the Sahara we know today that it is almost difficult to believe. It is a story of transformation, of a lost paradise that vanished, leaving behind a profound and important mystery for us to solve. Let us journey back in time, not just a few hundred years but thousands. We travel back about 11,000 years to a period known as the African Humid Period. The Sahara we arrive in is unrecognizable. Instead of endless dunes, we find ourselves in a land of rolling green savannas, dotted with acacia trees and lush grasslands. The air is not dry and scorching, but warm and filled with moisture. The silence is replaced by the chorus of life, the trumpeting of elephants, the low grunts of hippopotamuses wallowing in muddy pools, and the chatter of countless birds flitting through the branches of trees that offer welcome shade from the sun. This was not a desert at all, it was a vibrant, living ecosystem. Great rivers, far larger than any that exist in the region today, carved their way across the landscape, their waters flowing towards enormous freshwater lakes. Some of these lakes were as large as small seas, their shores teeming with crocodiles and fish. Imagine fishermen casting nets from reed boats, their villages nestled along the banks of these life-giving bodies of water. This green Sahara was a paradise for animals, a vast corridor of life that connected different parts of the African continent. Giraffes, with their long necks, would have browsed on the leaves of tall trees, while herds of gazelle and antelope grazed on the open plains. The evidence for this forgotten world is not just a fantasy, it is written in the land itself. Scientists drilling deep into the sediment at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, just off the coast of Africa, have found layers of ancient pollen. This pollen could only have come from the types of grasses and trees that grow in a much wetter climate, blown out to sea by the winds of a bygone era. Even more astonishing are the discoveries made within the desert itself. In remote rocky outcrops, hidden from the harsh sun, ancient artists carved and painted incredible images onto the stone. These rock art galleries show us a world full of swimmers, boats, and animals like hippos and crocodiles, creatures that could never survive in the Sahara of today. So, we are left with a profound question, a great planetary puzzle. What happened to this green and pleasant land? Where did all the water go? How could a landscape so full of life transform so completely into the vast, arid wilderness we see now. The disappearance of the Green Sahara is one of the most dramatic environmental changes in recent geological history. It is a story of climate shifts, of the Earth's own rhythms, and perhaps, of the growing influence of a new force on the planet, humankind. Unraveling this mystery helps us understand just how powerfully and quickly our world can change. To begin to understand how a green paradise could turn to sand, we must look not down at the Earth, but up, towards space. Our planet does not spin perfectly like a top. Over very long periods it has a slight wobble in its orbit as it travels around the sun. This gentle, slow wobble is known as precession. It is a cycle that takes about 23,000 years to complete, and it has a profound effect on our planet's climate. This wobble changes which part of the Earth is tilted toward the sun during different seasons. It is a subtle shift, almost imperceptible in a single human lifetime, but over millennia, its consequences are enormous. During the time of the Green Sahara, this orbital wobble meant that the northern hemisphere was tilted closer to the sun during the summer. This made the summers in North Africa much warmer than they are today. This extra heat intensified the African monsoon, a seasonal weather pattern that brings heavy rains. A stronger monsoon meant that moisture-rich winds from the Atlantic Ocean were able to travel much further inland, carrying life-giving rain deep into the heart of the Sahara. This reliable yearly deluge filled the lakes, fed the rivers, and sustained the lush grasslands that covered the region, creating the verdant world we have imagined. However, this great planetary rhythm is always in motion. As thousands of years passed, the Earth's wobble continued its slow, inexorable cycle. The northern hemisphere's summer tilt gradually shifted away from the sun. As a result, the summers in North Africa became less intense. The land did not heat up as much, and the powerful engine driving the African monsoon began to weaken. The strong, rain-bearing winds from the ocean no longer had the energy to push as far inland. The rains became less frequent, less reliable. The downpours that had nourished the land for millennia started to falter. This change marked the beginning of the end for the Green Sahara. It was a slow, creeping transformation at first. The Great Lakes began to shrink around the edges, leaving behind salty flats. The mighty rivers carried less water, their flow dwindling until they were mere trickles, and then, nothing at all. The grasslands started to wither, turning from a vibrant green to a parched yellow, and finally, to dust. It was a natural process, a grand climatic shift orchestrated by the celestial mechanics of our solar system. The planet itself was turning the page, and a new, drier chapter for North Africa was beginning. The Earth's orbital wobble undoubtedly started the process, slowly turning off the tap that supplied the Sahara with its life-giving rain. But some scientists now wonder if another force might have helped to speed things up. Around the same time that the climate was beginning to change, a new and powerful influence was spreading across the land humans and their animals. These were not just hunter-gatherers, but pastoralists, people who had learned to domesticate animals like cattle, sheep, and goats. This innovation was a revolution, allowing people to have a reliable source of food and to build larger, more settled communities. These early herders and their growing flocks moved across the landscape of the weakening Green Sahara, seeking out the best grazing for their animals. Cattle, in particular, need a lot of grass and water to survive. As the herds grazed, they stripped the land of its protective covering of vegetation. Grasses and shrubs are incredibly important. Their roots hold the soil together and help it to soak up what little rain might fall. When this vegetation is removed, the soil is left bare and exposed. Without the plants to anchor it, the soil loses its structure and its ability to retain precious moisture. Furthermore, these early people also used fire as a tool. They may have burned areas of scrubland to clear it for grazing, or to encourage the growth of fresh new grasses for their herds. While fire can be a useful tool, in a landscape that was already becoming drier, it could have had unintended consequences. The fires would have removed even more vegetation, leaving the soil even more vulnerable. Without the shade of trees and shrubs, the sun would beat down directly on the ground, baking it hard and making it difficult for new seeds to sprout. The land's ability to recover from the increasing dryness was being compromised. This combination of grazing and burning may have created a powerful feedback loop. As the vegetation was removed, the bare soil reflected more of the sun's heat back into the atmosphere. This can change local weather patterns, making it even less likely for clouds to form and for rain to fall. So, as the people and their animals change the land, they may have unintentionally made the climate even drier, which in turn made it harder for plants to grow, leading to even more land being exposed. It is possible that human activity, while small at first, gave the natural drying trend a decisive, accelerating push towards the point of no return. So, what truly turned the Sahara from a green paradise into a vast desert? The truth is, likely not a simple one-answer story. It's actually a complex tale of collaboration between two powerful forces: the grand, slow-moving cycles of nature and the newer, more localized actions of humanity. Scientists today are, well, a bit like detectives examining a very old crime scene. The evidence is scattered and has been buried by time and sand. It's a tremendous challenge to piece together exactly what happened, and in what order, over a period stretching back thousands of years. The debate among them is a fascinating part of the scientific process. On one side, we have the undeniable influence of our planet's orbital mechanics. The wobble of the Earth's axis is a powerful engine of climate change, a force far beyond any human control. This celestial rhythm was the primary driver, the ultimate cause that set the stage for the Sahara's transformation. It weakened the monsoon and began the slow process of drying. Without this fundamental shift in the global climate system, the Sahara would likely have remained green for much longer. This perspective sees the desertification as an inevitable natural event, one that would have happened regardless of who or what was living on the land at the time. On the other hand, we cannot ignore the evidence of human activity. The timing is very suggestive. The rise of pastoralism in North Africa coincided with the period when the climate was becoming more fragile. Computer models that simulate the climate of the past suggest that the natural drying process might have been much more gradual. Some of these models indicate that the Sahara could have remained a savanna-like ecosystem for centuries, or even millennia, longer if it had not been for the added pressure from grazing animals and human land use. From this viewpoint, humans delivered the final decisive shove that pushed a vulnerable ecosystem over the edge into a new, stable state, a desert. Ultimately, the most likely scenario is that both factors work together. Nature loaded the gun, and humanity may have pulled the trigger. The weakening monsoon made the land vulnerable, reducing its resilience and its ability to bounce back from disturbance. Then, the arrival of large-scale herding acted as that disturbance. It was perhaps a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The pastoralist way of life, which had been successful for generations, became unsustainable when the climate it depended on began to disappear. This intricate dance between planetary forces and human choices is a powerful lesson, reminding us that even small actions can have big consequences in a finely balanced world. As the Great Desert took hold, most people were forced to migrate, moving south towards wetter regions, or north to the Mediterranean coast. But one remarkable civilization chose to stay. They not only survived in the increasingly arid heart of the Sahara, but they thrived. These were the Garamantes, who built a powerful kingdom in what is now southwestern Libya, beginning around 1000 BCE. They looked at the parched landscape and saw not an ending, but an opportunity. They understood a secret, hidden deep beneath the sand-vast reservoirs of ancient water, trapped underground for thousands of years, a legacy of the wetter green Sahara period. The genius of the Garamantes was their ability to access this hidden water. They became master engineers, constructing an incredible and extensive network of underground tunnels, known as fogara, or kanats. These tunnels were a marvel of ancient technology. They were dug by hand, often for many kilometers, with a very slight, carefully calculated downward slope. The tunnels would tap into the underground water source deep within a hillside, and then channel the water, purely by gravity, out to the surface where it was needed. This system prevented the precious water from evaporating under the fierce desert sun as it traveled. This reliable supply of water transformed the desert into a series of vibrant oases. Along the routes of their underground aqueducts, the Garamantes built flourishing towns and cities. They were able to cultivate crops like wheat, barley, figs, and grapes in the middle of the desert. This agricultural wealth allowed them to support a large population, a powerful army, and a complex society with kings and a distinct social structure. They controlled important trade routes that crossed the Sahara, trading salt, precious stones, and exotic goods between the Roman Empire to the north and the societies of sub-Saharan Africa to the south. Their capital city, Garama, was a bustling desert metropolis. For nearly 1,000 years, the Garamantian civilization was a testament to human ingenuity and adaptation. They had found a way to create life in one of the harshest environments on Earth. By tapping into fossil water, water that is not replenished by rain, they built a kingdom in the sand. Their network of underground tunnels was their lifeline, a hidden circulatory system that pumped water and prosperity through the heart of their desert kingdom. They were true masters of their environment, a powerful example of how technology and clever resource management can allow humanity to flourish in the most unlikely of places. For centuries, the Garamantian kingdom flourished, their clever Foggara system a seemingly endless source of prosperity. Their cities were vibrant centers of trade and culture, their fields green against the backdrop of the orange dunes. However, the very innovation that allowed them to thrive in the desert also contained the seeds of their eventual decline. The water they were using was fossil water, a finite resource left over from a wetter age. It was like a bank account that they were constantly withdrawing from, but no new deposits were ever being made. The underground water table was not being refilled by rainfall. As their population grew and their agricultural activities expanded, the Garamantes needed more and more water. They dug more tunnels, extending their network further and deeper to chase the receding water levels. But they were in a race they could not win. Over the centuries, they slowly but surely depleted their precious underground reservoirs. The water table dropped lower and lower, until eventually, their Foggara systems began to run dry. The lifeblood of their civilization was literally disappearing beneath their feet. The oases that had sustained them for so long began to shrink, and the desert started to reclaim the land they had worked so hard to cultivate. This overuse of their primary resource likely coincided with further shifts in the climate, making an already difficult situation worse. The Sahara continued its natural drying trend, becoming even more hyper-arid than before. Any small occasional rainfalls that might have helped a little became even rarer. At the same time, their powerful trading partner to the north, the Roman Empire, was facing its own decline, which would have disrupted the trade routes that brought the Garamantes so much wealth. Their kingdom was being squeezed from all sides. Their water was running out, the climate was getting harsher, and their economy was faltering. The decline of the Garamantes was a slow and gradual process, not a sudden collapse. As resources dwindled, their power waned, and their society began to break apart. By around 700 CE, their once great kingdom had faded back into the desert sands, leaving behind the ghostly ruins of their cities and the remarkable, now dry, tunnels of their Foggara system. The story of the Garamantes is a powerful and cautionary tale. It shows that even the most ingenious solutions can have limits, especially when they rely on a finite resource. It reminds us that for any civilization to be truly sustainable, it must find a way to live in balance with the resources its environment provides. The story of the Sahara, from green paradise to arid desert, might seem like a one-way street. But nature is full of surprises, and even the driest places on Earth can experience moments of spectacular transformation. While the Sahara itself has not returned to its former green glory, we can see astonishing examples of this process elsewhere. In deserts like the Atacama in Chile or the Mojave in California, a rare and special combination of weather conditions can trigger an event known as a super bloom. After an unusually rainy winter, the desert floor, which appeared to be nothing but bare soil and rock, suddenly explodes with life. During a super bloom, millions upon millions of wildflower seeds, which have lain dormant in the soil for years, sometimes even decades, all germinate at once. They carpet the dry, dusty landscape in a breathtaking tapestry of vibrant color, dazzling purples, brilliant oranges, sunny yellows, and pristine whites. For a few precious weeks, the desert is completely transformed. It becomes a temporary paradise, buzzing with bees, butterflies, and other insects that arrive to feast on the unexpected bounty of nectar. It's a powerful and beautiful reminder that even in the most desolate of places, the potential for life is always there, patiently waiting for its moment. These events show us that the line between a desert and a more verdant landscape is not always permanent. It can be a shifting boundary, dependent on the presence of one vital ingredient: water. The seeds of the past are still present, holding the memory of a wetter time within their tiny shells. When the conditions are right, they are ready to spring forth and briefly reclaim the land, These blooms are a glimpse into the resilience of nature and its incredible capacity for renewal. They demonstrate that ecosystems are not static, but are in a constant state of flux, capable of dramatic and rapid change. The epic history of the Sahara and the fleeting beauty of a superbloom both encourage us to look at the world with a sense of wonder and curiosity. They show us how landscapes are shaped by immense natural forces, like the wobble of our planet, but also by the actions of living things, including ourselves. The story of the pastoralists and the Garamantes reminds us that our choices matter and that how we use the resources around us can have consequences that last for centuries. The Earth is a dynamic and ever-changing stage, and we are all participants in its continuing story, with the power to help shape the landscapes of the future.